I sat down slowly, my knees aching like they always did after my shift at the hardware store. 67 years old, and my body reminded me of every single one of them. Sarah brought the food over without meeting my eyes. We ate in silence for a few minutes. I tried to make conversation, asked about her job at the bank, mentioned the neighbor's new dog, told her about a customer who'd bought $300 worth of paint and then returned it all the next day. She barely responded, just pushed her food around her plate. "Sarah," I finally said, "what's going on?" That's when her boyfriend walked in. I didn't even know he was there. Derek, 29 years old, slick back hair, one of those expensive watches that cost more than my monthly rent. He worked in tech marketing, whatever that meant. I'd met him twice before, and both times he'd looked at me like I was something stuck to his shoe. "Oh," I said, starting to stand. "I didn't know you had company." "I can." "Sit down, Dad." Sarah's voice was flat. "Cold," he said. Derek leaned against the counter, arms crossed. He didn't say anything, just watched me with this smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. The air in that kitchen felt thick, heavy, like right before a thunderstorm. "Sarah, what's this about?" I asked quietly. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were hard, distant, like I was looking at a stranger wearing my daughter's face. "Dad, you're a burden." The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually felt my chest tighten. "What?" "You heard me." She set down her fork. "You're 67 years old. You work at a hardware store, making barely anything. You live in that awful apartment on Maple Street. You drive a car from 2003. You're an embarrassment." I couldn't breathe. "Sarah, I don't understand." "Get out," she said. Her voice was shaking now, but not with emotion, with anger. "I can't do this anymore. I can't keep pretending like everything's fine when you're just dragging me down." Derek was nodding behind her, actually nodding, like she was giving a presentation he agreed with. If you've ever been blindsided by someone you loved more than your own life, you know this feeling. The way the room starts spinning, the way your hands go numb. Drop a broken heart below if you've been there. Because what happened next, I still can't believe I had the strength to do it. "I want you to leave," Sarah continued. "Tonight. Now. Take whatever you came with. I'll pack up the rest of your stuff from the storage room and drop it off this weekend." "Storage room," I repeated. My voice sounded far away. "What are you talking about?" "The boxes in my garage, Dad. Your old photo albums and Mom's things. I need the space." That's when I understood. She'd already decided this. This whole dinner, the pot roast, the careful table setting, it was a performance. A staged execution. I stood up. My legs felt like water, but I stood up. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay." She blinked, like she'd expected me to argue, to beg. "If that's what you want, Sarah." I picked up my jacket from the hook. Then okay. I walked to the front door. My hand was on the knob when I heard Derek laugh. A short, ugly sound. "Finally," he muttered. I left that night with only a grocery bag. Inside it, my phone charger, my reading glasses, and a bottle of heart medication I'd left in Sarah's bathroom cabinet last month. I didn't take anything else. Didn't argue. Didn't cry. Not yet. I drove to a motel 6 blocks away. The kind with flickering neon signs and cigarette burns in the carpet. Paid cash for one night. Sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall until sunrise. But here's what Sarah didn't know. Here's what she couldn't have known. When I'd arrived at her house that evening and hung up my jacket, I needed to use the bathroom. The downstairs one was occupied. I could hear Derek's voice through the door, talking on the phone. So I went upstairs to the guest bathroom. And that's when I heard them. Sarah and Derek, in her bedroom. The door was cracked open maybe 2 inches. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I swear I wasn't. I was just walking past when I heard my name. "Your dad out tonight," Derek was saying. "Just tell him straight up. He's dragging you down. We can't move forward with our plans if you're still supporting him." "I know." Sarah's voice. Quiet. Tired. God, Derek, he's my father. He's dead weight, babe. Look, once he's gone, we can get serious about the business. Your mom's life insurance money is still just sitting there. We could double it in 6 months with the right investments. My mother's life insurance money. The $50,000 she'd left to Sarah. Money I'd never asked about. Never touched. I'll do it tonight, Sarah had said. I'll make him dinner and then tell him he needs to leave. Good girl. A pause. And don't let him guilt you. Remember, this is about your future. Our future. I'd backed away from that door silently. Went back downstairs. Hung my jacket up again like nothing had happened. And I sat down at that dinner table knowing exactly what was coming. But what Sarah didn't know, what she still doesn't know, is that I recorded the entire conversation. My phone was in my shirt pocket the whole time. Voice memo app running. Every single word. Every laugh. Every cold dismissal. I have it all. And what I'm about to do with that recording, well, that's when everything really started. The motel room smelled like stale smoke and industrial cleaner. I sat on the edge of that bed for hours, just staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a hand reaching out. The kind of detail you notice when your whole world has just collapsed and your brain is desperately looking for anything else to focus on. My phone sat next to me on the scratchy bedspread. Screen dark. Silent. It was 2:47 a.m. when I finally picked it up. My hand was shaking as I opened the voice memo app. There it was. 43 minutes and 18 seconds. Recorded at 5:52 p.m., right before I'd walked into Sarah's kitchen and pretended I didn't know what was coming. I pressed play. Derek's voice filled the small room. Tinny through my phone speaker, but clear enough. Your dad out tonight. Just tell him straight up. He's dragging you down. I stopped the recording. Started again. Stopped it. My finger hovered over the delete button. Part of me wanted to erase it. Pretend I'd never heard it. Go back to that hardware store tomorrow morning and act like my daughter hadn't just called me a burden and thrown me out of her house while her boyfriend stood there grinning like he'd won something. But I didn't delete it. Instead, I listened to the whole thing. Every word. Every pause. Every moment where Sarah agreed with him. Where she talked about her mother's life insurance money like it was a business investment instead of the last gift from the woman who'd loved us both. When it finished, I sat in the silence of that motel room and felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Clarity. The next morning, I checked out at 6 a.m. The clerk barely looked at me as I slid the key across the counter. I got in my 2003 Honda, the one Sarah had called an embarrassment, and I didn't drive back to my apartment on Maple Street. I drove to a law office. Not just any law office. Mitchell and Associates. The firm where my old friend Tom Mitchell had been practicing for 32 years. We'd gone to high school together, stayed in touch over the decades. He'd helped me with the paperwork when my wife died. Had told me at the funeral, anything you need, Jack. Anything at all. I was about to take him up on that. The office didn't open until 9, so I sat in the parking lot and watched the sun come up over the strip mall across the street. Anel Salon, a pizza place, a check-cashing store with bars on the windows. This was my life now. Parking lots and cheap motels and wondering how my own daughter had turned into someone I didn't recognize. At 8:55, Tom's silver Mercedes pulled in next to me. He got out, briefcase in hand, and did a double take when he saw me sitting there. Jack. He walked over my window. Everything okay? No, I said. It's not. We sat in his office 20 minutes later. Leather chairs, mahogany desk, law degrees on the wall behind him. Tom poured us both coffee from an actual French press and then leaned back in his chair. Talk to me, he said. So I did. I told him about the dinner, about Derek, about being called a burden and told to leave. And then I pulled out my phone and played him the recording. Tom's face changed as he listened. That friendly warmth I'd known for 50 years hardened into something else. Something professional. Cold. When it finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Jack, he finally said, do you know what you have here? Evidence that my daughter's boyfriend is a manipulative piece of evidence of financial elder abuse, Tom interrupted. He leaned forward, or at least the groundwork for it. He's coaching her to isolate you, to cut you off. And he specifically mentioned your wife's life insurance money. Money that was left to Sarah, yes, but with the assumption she'd use it responsibly. I never wanted that money, I said quietly. I told Margaret to leave it to Sarah. I wanted her to have security, to build a life. I know. Tom picked up a legal pad and started writing. But this Derek character, he's not interested in Sarah's security. He's interested in her bank account. And he's using her grief and confusion to manipulate her into pushing away the one person who might see through him. So what do I do? Tom set down his pen, looked at me directly. That depends on what you want, Jack. Do you want to fight this? Legally, I mean. Because we could. There are options. I thought about Sarah as a little girl. Braids in her hair, missing her 2 front teeth, running into my arms when I picked her up from school. Sarah at 16, crying in my truck after her first heartbreak. Sarah at 23, walking down the aisle on my arm to marry a man who turned out to be wrong for her. But I'd supported her anyway because she'd asked me to. Sarah, at the funeral, holding my hand while they lowered her mother into the ground. I don't want to fight her, I said. I want to save her. Tom nodded slowly. Then we need to be smart about this. We need to figure out what Derek's real angle is. And we need to do it before he drains her dry and disappears. How? He smiled. Not a happy smile. A tactical one. You're going to do exactly what Sarah asked you to do. You're going to stay away. You're going to be the obedient, embarrassing father who got kicked to the curb. He tapped the phone where my recording still sat on his desk. And while you do that, I'm going to start digging into Derek's background. His finances. His business dealings. Everything. And if you find something, then we'll have leverage. Tom stood up and extended his hand. But Jack, you need to be prepared for what we might find. And you need to be prepared for the possibility that Sarah might not thank you for this. I shook his hand. His grip was firm. Steady. I'm not doing this for thanks, I said. I'm doing this because she's my daughter. And I don't care what she said to me. I don't care what Derek convinced her to believe. I'm still her father. I left Tom's office at 10:30 with a plan and a pit in my stomach. I drove back to my apartment on Maple Street. The building looked worse in daylight. Peeling paint, cracked sidewalk, rusted fire escape clinging to the brick like a scar. Sarah had been right about one thing. It was awful, but it was mine. I climbed the 3 flights of stairs to my unit, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. The place smelled like coffee and old books. 1 bedroom, tiny kitchen, a bathroom where the shower took 5 minutes to get hot. But the rent was cheap, and the landlord didn't ask questions, and I could see the part from my window where Margaret and I used to take Sarah when she was small. I sat down on my couch, the same couch we'd had for 20 years, reupholstered twice, and I let myself cry. Not for long, just enough. Then I dried my eyes, made myself a sandwich, and opened my laptop. I had work to do, because Tom was going to dig into Derek's background, but I knew something he didn't. I knew where Derek worked. I knew his last name, and I knew that 3 months ago, Sarah had mentioned he was working on something big that was going to change everything. I also knew how to use Google. It took me 6 hours. 6 hours of searching, clicking, reading through business filings and social media posts and public records. My eyes burned. My back ached from sitting hunched over the laptop. But at 4:47 p.m., I found it. Derek wasn't in tech marketing. Derek was in cryptocurrency investment schemes. And 3 years ago, in Nevada, he'd been sued by 6 different investors for fraud. The case had been settled out of court. Records sealed. But the headlines were still there if you looked hard enough. Local entrepreneur accused of multi-level marketing scam. Investors claim they were misled about returns. My blood went cold. I picked up my phone and called Tom. I found something, I said when he answered. And it's worse than we thought. Tell me. So I did. I told him about the lawsuit, about the fraud allegations, about the fact that Derek had settled and moved to a different state, our state, and apparently started fresh with a new target. My daughter. Tom was silent for a long moment. Jack, he said finally, we need to move fast. If he's already talking about investing her money, then she could lose everything. I finished. Everything her mother wanted her to have. I'll file for a consultation hearing. We can request a financial review, present evidence of coercion. No. Interrupta. No. Not yet. I stared out my window at the park, at the swing set where I'd pushed Sarah 1,000 times. If we go legal right now, she'll think I'm trying to control her. She'll dig in deeper. Derek will convince her I'm the villain. Then what do you suggest? I thought about the recording on my phone, about the look on Sarah's face when she'd called me a burden, about the way Derek had laughed when I walked out the door. I suggest, I said slowly, that we give Derek exactly what he wants, which is me out of the picture, completely out, silent, defeated. I felt a cold smile cross my face. And while I'm playing the part of the broken old man, we're going to watch him. Document everything, every meeting, every transaction, every promise he makes to my daughter. And when we have enough, then we burn his world down. Tom was quiet. Then he laughed, short and sharp. Margaret will be proud of you, he said. Margaret would have seen through him in 5 seconds. I replied, but she's not here, so I have to be enough. We hung up. I sat in my apartment as the sun went down, turning the walls orange and then purple and then dark. I didn't hear from Sarah that weekend. She didn't drop off my boxes like she'd promised. Didn't call. Didn't text. It was like I'd never existed. But that was okay, because while she was forgetting about me, I was building a case. And Derek had no idea what was coming. I need to stop and clarify something before I continue. I know what you're thinking. You read that heading and you're confused. Wait, wasn't this about a father and daughter? Why does it say husband? Let me explain. Because this is where the story gets complicated. This is where I realized I wasn't the only one who'd been lied to. It was the following Wednesday, 6 days after Sarah had thrown me out. 6 days of silence. I was sitting in my apartment going through old photo albums, the ones Sarah said she'd drop off but never did, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mr. Patterson? A woman's voice. Young. Nervous. Yes. My name is Amy Chun. I'm a loan officer at First National Bank. She paused. I work with your daughter. My pulse quickened. Is Sarah okay? She's fine. Physically. Another pause. Longer this time. Mr. Patterson, I'm calling because I need to tell you something. And I could lose my job for this. But I can't. I can't just watch this happen. Watch what happened. Can you meet me? Today? There's a coffee shop on Brennan Street called The Grind. 1 hour. She hung up before I could answer. I sat there staring at my phone. Every instinct told me this could be a trap. Maybe Derek had found out I was digging into his past. Maybe this Amy Chun was working with him. But what if she wasn't? 58 minutes later, I walked into The Grind. It was one of those trendy places with exposed brick and baristas who looked like they were auditioning for an indie film. I spotted her immediately, mid-20s, black hair and a neat bun, sitting alone at a corner table with her hands wrapped around a coffee cup like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. I sat down across from her. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. She wouldn't meet my eyes. What's this about? She reached into her bag and pulled out a manila folder, set it on the table between us. Her hands were shaking. I've worked at the bank for 3 years. Sarah's been there for 5. We're not exactly friends, but we're friendly. We have lunch sometimes. Talk about our lives. She finally looked up at me. 2 weeks ago, she came to me with paperwork. She wanted to transfer $50,000 from her savings account into a joint investment account. My stomach dropped. With Derek, I said. With Derek, she confirmed. The thing is, Mr. Patterson, part of my job is to review these transfers. Make sure they're legitimate. That both parties are who they say they are. That the investment vehicle is properly registered. And the company Derek wanted her to invest in? Amy pushed the folder toward me. It doesn't exist. Not legally. It's registered as an LLC in Delaware, but when I pulled the documentation, there's no actual business infrastructure. No employees. No office. No track record. Just a website and a lot of promises. I opened the folder. Inside were printouts. Business registration documents. Bank account information. And right there, in black and white, Crypto Future Holdings, LLC. Managing partner, Derek Michael Brennan. She didn't go through with it yet. Amy continued. I told her I needed to verify some information first. Stalled her. But Mr. Patterson, she's going to come back. And when she does, if I can't give her a legitimate reason to stop the transfer, she's going to do it anyway. Can't you just refuse? Not without cause. She's an adult. It's her money. If she wants to invest it, that's her choice. Amy's voice cracked slightly. But I've seen this before. Different faces, same pattern. A boyfriend with a revolutionary opportunity. Promises of doubling or tripling returns. And then 6 months later, the money's gone and so is he. I stared at the documents. Derek's name printed over and over. His signature on registration forms. His face in a professional headshot on the website printout. Slick back hair, that same arrogant smile. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Amy was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. Because last Monday, Sarah came into work crying. I asked her what was wrong, and she said she'd had to cut her father out of her life, that he was holding her back, that it was the hardest thing she'd ever done, but it was necessary. She looked at me directly now, and I asked her, did you want to do it? And she said, Derek says it's what's best for us. The way she emphasized that word, Derek, told me everything. She's not making these decisions, I said quietly. No, sir. I don't think she is. I closed the folder. My hands were steady now. Calm. That clarity I'd felt in Tom's office came flooding back. Amy, can I ask you something? Of course. If Sarah tries to make this transfer, how long can you stall her? She thought about it. Maybe a week. 2 if I really push it. But eventually, I'll run out of excuses. That's all I need. I stood up. Thank you for caring enough to risk your job for this. Mr. Patterson, she stood too. Get her away from him. Please. I've seen too many women lose everything to men like Derek. I left the grind with that folder tucked under my arm and a new piece of the puzzle. But I still didn't understand the heading of this part, did I? The secret phone part. That came 3 hours later. I went straight to Tom's office. Showed him everything Amy had given me. He read through it with the focused intensity of a surgeon examining x-rays. This is good, he said. This is very good. We can use this too. There's something else. I interrupted. What? I pulled out my own phone. Opened my photos. Scrolled back 2 weeks to a picture I'd taken at Sarah's house. Back when I was still welcome there. It was from Sunday dinner. Nothing special. Just a candid shot of Sarah laughing at something I'd said. But in the background on the kitchen counter, there was a phone. Not Sarah's phone. She had an iPhone with a purple case. This was a Samsung. Black. Generic. I didn't think anything of it at the time, I said. Figured it was Derek's phone. But look, I zoomed in on the photo. On the screen of that phone, partially visible, was a text message notification. The name at the top. Claire. Tom frowned. Who's Claire? I don't know. But 3 days ago, I was sitting in my car outside Sarah's house. Jack, you're surveilling your own daughter? I'm protecting my daughter, I corrected, and I saw Derek leave. He got in his car, and he was on his phone, laughing, having what looked like a very intimate conversation with someone. You think he's cheating on Sarah? I think Derek has a whole other life Sarah doesn't know about. I swiped to another photo. This one I'd taken 2 days ago, a grainy shot through my car window of Derek at a restaurant downtown. This is from Tuesday night. Sarah was working late. She told me about her schedule once. Tuesday nights, she has back-to-back client meetings until 8 p.m. In the photo, Derek was sitting across from a woman. Blonde, maybe 30. She was leaning forward, hand on his arm, smiling. Is that Claire? Tom asked. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I put my phone away, because if Derek is running a financial scam on my daughter while simultaneously cheating on her, I need to know, and she needs to know. Tom leaned back in his chair, steepled his fingers. Jack, you're playing a dangerous game. If Derek finds out you're following him, he won't. If Sarah finds out you're investigating her boyfriend, she will, I said. Eventually, But not yet. Not until I have everything. Not until I can show her the complete picture of who this man really is. And if she doesn't believe you? That was the question I've been asking myself for 6 days. The question that kept me up at night in my awful apartment on Maple Street. Then at least I tried, I said quietly. At least I can live with myself knowing I did everything I could to save her from making the biggest mistake of her life. Tom studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right, let's find out who Claire is. It took him less than 24 hours. Tom had resources I didn't. Private investigators, database access, friends in law enforcement who owed him favors. Thursday morning, my phone rang. Jack, Tom said, you need to sit down for this. I'm already sitting. Claire Brennan, age 32. Occupation, real estate agent. Current residence, Henderson, Nevada. My mouth went dry. Brennan, Derek's wife, Tom said. They've been married for 8 years. And they have a 6-year-old son. The room tilted. What? Derek Michael Brennan is legally married. Jack has been the entire time he's been with Sarah. The divorce records I found earlier, they were for a different case. A business partner dispute. I missed it the first time. He has a wife. I repeated. The words felt unreal. And a child. And based on the financial records my investigator pulled, he's been transferring money from multiple girlfriends into accounts under his wife's name for the past 3 years. It's a pattern. He finds financially stable women, gains their trust, convinces them to invest in his fake companies, drains them, and moves on. I couldn't breathe. Sarah doesn't know. I whispered. Sarah has no idea she's the other woman. Tom confirmed. And in 3 days, if Amy Chun can't stall her anymore, Sarah's going to transfer $50,000 into an account that Derek controls. And then he's going to disappear. I stood up, paced my apartment. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. We have to tell her, I said. She won't believe you. You're the burden, remember? The father she cut out. If you come to her with this, Derek will convince her you're lying, that you're jealous, that you're trying to sabotage her happiness. Then what do? My voice cracked. Just watch him destroy her. Tom was quiet for a moment. No, he finally said. We make him destroy himself. Ow! We go to Nevada. We find Claire, and we get her to tell us everything. I looked out my window at the park where I used to push my daughter on the swings, where I'd taught her to ride a bike, where I'd told her, after her mother died, that no matter what happened, I would always be there for her. Book the flight, I said. I'll pack a bag. Because Derek had made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated how far a father would go to protect his daughter, even a daughter who'd called him a burden and thrown him away. The flight to Las Vegas left at 6:15 a.m. Friday morning. I'd never been to Nevada, never had a reason to go. But there I was, sitting in a middle seat between a businessman who snored and a college kid watching videos without headphones, flying across the country to confront the wife of the man who was destroying my daughter's life. Tom couldn't come with me. He had a trial starting Monday, depositions he couldn't reschedule. But he'd given me everything I needed, Claire's address, her work schedule, photos from her social media, even the name of her son. Tyler, 6 years old, just started first grade. Be careful, Tom had told me at the airport drop-off. Don't approach her anywhere public. Don't make threats. Just get her to talk. Let her tell you about Derek in her own words. And if she won't, he'd handed me another folder, thicker than the first. Then you show her this. Bank records, transfer receipts, evidence that her husband has been running cons on at least 4 other women in the past 3 years. If she knows about it, she's complicit. If she doesn't, she's another victim. You think she knows? Tom had shrugged. Either way, she's your best weapon against him. Now, sitting in that plane as it descended into Las Vegas, I felt the weight of that folder in my backpack. The weight of everything I'd learned in the past week. The weight of knowing my daughter was days away from financial ruin, and I was the only person standing between her and disaster. We landed at 8:43 a.m. Pacific time. I rented the cheapest car available, a compact that smelled like air freshener and broken dreams, and drove to Henderson following the GPS directions Tom had programmed into my phone. Claire's house was in a subdivision called Desert Bloom Estates. Cookie-cutter homes with desert landscaping and HOA-mandated beige paint. I parked 3 houses down and waited. The front door opened at 9:07 a.m. She came out first, blonde hair pulled into a ponytail, yoga pants, oversized sunglasses. She was carrying a to-go coffee cup and a leather bag that probably cost more than my rent. Behind her, a small boy with Derek's eyes and her nose. Tyler. He was wearing a backpack covered in dinosaurs. My chest tightened watching them. This kid had no idea his father was a con artist. Had no idea that right now, 3 states away, his dad was manipulating another woman, planning to steal from her. Claire loaded Tyler into a white Range Rover and drove off. I followed at a distance, feeling like a character in a bad detective movie. She dropped him in an elementary school 10 minutes away, then drove to a Starbucks where she sat outside and made phone calls for 20 minutes. I couldn't approach her there. Too many witnesses. Too public. So I waited. She went to 3 houses after that. Showings, I guessed. She was a real estate agent, according to Tom's research. Fairly successful one, based on the car and the house and the designer bag. At 12:30, she drove to a gym. Planet Fitness. She went inside with her bag. This was my chance. I waited in the parking lot, rehearsing what I'd say, how I'd approach her, what I'd do if she screamed or called the police or refused to listen. But when she came out an hour later, hair wet from shower, I still wasn't ready. She was almost to her Range Rover when I got out of my rental car and called across the parking lot. Claire Brennan. She stopped, turned, one hand already reaching in her bag, for her phone, probably. Or pepper spray. Who are you? Her voice was sharp, defensive. My name is Jack Patterson. I'm from California, and I need to talk to you about your husband. Her face went pale. Not surprised pale. Caught pale. I don't know what you're talking about, she said. But she knew. I could see in her eyes. Yes, you do. I took a step closer, hands visible, non-threatening. Derek's been in a relationship with my daughter for 8 months. He's convinced her to invest $50,000 in a fake company. And in 3 days, he's going to take her money and disappear. Claire stared at me. Her hand was still in her bag. You need to leave, she said quietly. I will, after you tell me the truth. There's nothing to tell. Then why do you look terrified right now? Her jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought she was going to run, or scream, or pull out pepper spray and blind me in this Planet Fitness parking lot. Instead, she said, get in my car. We sat in the Range Rover with the engine running and the AC blasting. Claire didn't say anything for a full minute, just gripped the steering wheel and stared straight ahead. How did you find me? She finally asked. Does it matter? Yes. A lawyer. Private investigator. Public records. I shifted in the leather seat. Claire, I'm not here to ruin your life. I'm here to save my daughters. Your daughter's an idiot if she believed him, Claire said flatly. She's grieving. Her mother died 3 years ago. She's vulnerable, and Derek saw that and exploited it. Claire laughed, short and bitter. That's his specialty. So you know what he does? She turned to look at me for the first time. Her eyes were hard, empty. I'm his wife, she said. Of course I know. My stomach turned. You help him do this? No. She shook her head. I just don't stop him. There's a difference. Not much of one. You think I'm proud of this? Her voice cracked. You think I wake up every morning happy that my husband spends half the year in different states seducing women and stealing their money. Then why do you stay? Because I have a 6-year-old son. She was almost shouting now. Because Derek makes $200,000 a year running these scams, and I don't have to work if I don't want to, and Tyler goes to a good school, and we have a nice house, and she stopped. Took a breath. Because I'm a coward, Mr. Patterson. That's why I stay. The silence in that car was suffocating. How many? I asked quietly. How many what? How many women has he done this to? Claire was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. Counting your daughter? 12. In the past 5 years. 12 women. 12 families destroyed. 12 lives Derek had walked through like he was shopping. And you just let it happen, I said. It wasn't a question. What am I supposed to do? Claire demanded. Turn him in? He's the father of my child. If he goes to prison, we lose everything. The house, the cars, Tyler's school, everything. I can't do that to my son. So you sacrifice other people's daughters instead. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Where is he now? I asked. Derek? California. With your daughter, probably. She pulled out her phone, opened her messages, showed me a text from this morning. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. That's what he tells you when he's with them, Claire said. Working late. Business trip. Conference. Whatever lie sounds believable. Does he love any of them? Does he love me? She laughed again. That same bitter sound. Derek doesn't love anyone, Mr. Patterson. He loves money. He loves the thrill of the con. He loves knowing he's smarter than everyone else in the room. She put her phone away. Your daughter isn't special to him. She's just the current target. Something in my chest twisted. Not just anger anymore. Grief. I need to stop him, I said. You can't. I have to try. Claire studied me. Really looked at me for the first time. You know what's sad? She said. Every woman he's done this to had someone who tried to stop it. A father. A brother. A best friend. Someone who saw through him and tried to warn them. And you know what happened every single time. What? The woman chose Derek. Her voice was flat. Matter of fact. They chose him over their family. Over their friends. Over common sense. Because Derek is very, very good at making women feel like they're the center of his universe. Like they're the only person who truly understands him. Like everyone else is just jealous or controlling or trying to ruin their happiness. Sarah's not like that. They all say that. Claire started the car. Look, Mr. Patterson, I feel bad for your daughter. I do. But there's nothing you can do. Derek's going to take her money. He's going to disappear for a few weeks, and then he's going to come home to me and Tyler like nothing happened. That's how this works. Not this time, I said. She raised an eyebrow. What makes you think you're different? I pulled out my phone, opened a voice memo app, played her the recording from that night at Sarah's house. Derek's voice telling my daughter to cut me out, talking about the life insurance money, calling me dead weight. When it finished, Claire's face was unreadable. You recorded him, she said. Yes. That's illegal in some states. I don't care. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. That recording won't save her, Mr. Patterson. Derek will just say you edited it. That you're lying. That you're a desperate old man trying to manipulate his daughter. She put the car in drive. Now, get out. I have to pick up my son from school. Wait. Get out of my car. I got out. Stood in that parking lot watching her drive away, feeling more hopeless than I had since Margaret died. But as I walked back to my rental car, my phone rang. Tom. Jack, where are you? Las Vegas. I just talked to Claire. She's part of it, Tom. She knows everything and she doesn't care. Forget about Claire. Tom interrupted. I found something. Something big. What? Derek isn't just running investment scams, Jack. He's being investigated by the FBI. My heart stopped. What? Guide Froth. Across state lines. They've been building a case for 9 months. They're close to moving on it. He paused. And Sarah, if she transfers that money to him, she could be charged as an accomplice. The parking lot tilted. I grabbed the door of my rental car to steady myself. That's impossible, I whispered. It's not. If the FBI can prove she knew about his fraudulent activities, or if they determine she was helping him launder money, even unknowingly, she could face federal charges. But she doesn't know. She has no idea who he really is. I know that. You know that. But the FBI doesn't know that. And once that money transfers, once it goes into Derek's account and gets moved offshore, the trail leads right back to her. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My daughter. My Sarah. She wasn't just about to lose her money. She was about to become a federal criminal. Tom, I said. My voice sounded distant. Hello. What do I do? You got the next flight home, he said. And you tell her everything. Today. Right now. Before it's too late. She won't believe me. Then make her believe you. Because if you don't, Jack, if that transfer goes through, you're not going to lose your daughter to Derek. What do you mean? His next words shattered what was left of my world. You're going to lose her to the federal prison system for the next 10 to 15 years. I caught the next flight out of Las Vegas. The 4-hour wait at the airport felt like 4 years. I sat in a plastic chair by my gate, staring at my phone, reading and rereading the email Tom had sent me. FBI case, file numbers, wide fraud statutes, conspiracy charges, words that didn't feel real when applied to my daughter. Sarah, who'd never even gotten a speeding ticket, who'd cried at 13 when she accidentally shoplifted a candy bar because she forgot it was in her pocket, who'd gone to church every Sunday with her mother and believed in doing the right thing. That Sarah was days away from becoming a federal criminal, and she had no idea. The plane landed at 9:47 p.m. I didn't go home, didn't stop to think or plan or rehearse what I'd say. I just drove straight to Sarah's house, my hands shaking on the wheel, Tom's words echoing in my head. Make her believe you. Before it's too late. Her lights were on when I pulled up. Both cars in the driveway. Her sedan and Derek's BMW. I sat in my car for maybe 30 seconds, gathering whatever courage I had left. Then I walked up to the door and knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Harder. The door opened. Derek stood there in expensive loungewear, glass of wine in his hand, that same arrogant smile on his face. Jack, he said, drew out my name like it was a joke. Didn't expect to see you again so soon. I need to talk to Sarah. She doesn't want to talk to you. I don't care what she wants. I need to talk to her. Now. His smile widened. You know what's sad? You just can't accept that you're not welcome here anymore. That you're not part of her life. It's pathetic, really. I felt my jaw tighten. Every muscle in my body wanted to hit him, to wipe that smirk off his face. But I'd come here for Sarah, not for him. Get out of my way, Derek. Or what? He leaned against the doorframe. You gonna fight me, old man? Call the cops? Go ahead. Tell them you're harassing your daughter after she specifically asked you to leave her alone. Dad, Sarah's voice. Behind him. She appeared in the hallway, wearing pajamas, hair pulled back. She looked tired, smaller somehow than when I'd last seen her. What are you doing here? Her voice was cold, but I heard something else underneath. Uncertainty, maybe even fear. I need to talk to you, I said. It's important. I told you to leave me alone. I know, and I'm sorry. But Sarah, you're in danger. Derek is. Don't. She held up her hand. I don't want to hear it. Whatever you came here to say about Derek, whatever lies you've convinced yourself are true, I don't want to hear them. They're not lies. I have proof. Derek laughed. Actually laughed. Proof? Let me guess, you hired a private investigator. Did some digging. Found some anonymous internet rumors and decided they must be true because you can't stand the idea of your daughter being happy without you. Is that what he told you I'd do? I looked at Sarah. Did he prepare you for this? Did he tell you I'd come here with accusations? That I'd try to turn you against him? She didn't answer, but her silence was answer enough. Sarah, I said quietly, I went to Las Vegas today. Derek's smile faltered. Just for a second. But I saw it. Why would you go to Las Vegas? Sarah asked. To meet Derek's wife. The color drained from Sarah's face. What? Her name is Claire. They've been married for 8 years. They have a 6-year-old son named Tyler. That's insane, Derek said quickly. Too quickly. Sarah, he's making this up. He's desperate. He's trying to. Shut up. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. She was staring at me, her eyes wide. Dad, what are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, showed her the photos Tom's investigator had sent. Claire and Derek's marriage certificate. Photos from their wedding. Recent pictures of them together with their son. Their house in Henderson. Everything. Sarah took my phone with trembling hands. Scrolled through the images. Her breathing got faster, shallower. These could be fake, Derek said. His voice had lost that casual confidence. Photoshopped. Sarah, you can't seriously believe. Is this real? Sarah interrupted. She was still looking at my phone, at a photo of Derek holding Tyler at what looked like a birthday party. The timestamp, 3 months ago. Yes, I said. It's real. She looked up at Derek. Tell me he's lying. Derek opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. It's complicated, he finally said. Complicated? Sarah's voice broke. You're married. You have a child. What's complicated about that? We're separated. Legally separated. The divorce is in progress. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to burden you with. Show me the divorce papers, I said. Derek glared at me. Excuse me. If you're legally separated and filing for divorce, show her the papers. Right now. He didn't move. Derek, Sarah said. Her hand was shaking so badly, she nearly dropped my phone. Show me the divorce papers. I don't have them here. They're at my lawyer's office. Call your lawyer, I said. Right now. Have him email them to Sarah. It's almost 11 p.m. He's not going to. Then it's not true. I looked at Sarah. There are no divorce papers. There's no separation. He's been lying to you since the day you met him. Sarah was crying now, silent tears running down her face. But she wasn't looking away from Derek. She was staring at him like she was seeing him for the first time. How long? She whispered. Sarah, I love you. You have to believe that. How long have you been lying to me? Derek ran his hand through his hair. That perfect hair he spent so much time on. From the beginning, he said quietly, but it doesn't change what we have. It doesn't change how I feel about you. She laughed. A horrible, broken sound. You have a wife. You have a son. You've been going home to them this entire time. Not the entire time. Sometimes I stayed here. Sometimes I... Get out. Her voice was flat now. Dead. Sarah, get out of my house. Right now. Derek looked at me. His face had transformed from charming to something ugly. Cold. This is your fault, he said. You couldn't just leave well enough alone. You had to interfere. You had to. I said get out. Sarah was screaming now. Get out. Get out. Get out. Derek grabbed his keys from the table by the door. Looked at Sarah one more time. You're making a mistake, he said. That investment opportunity, it's real. It's your future. Our future. If you walk away now, there is no future, Sarah said. There never was. Now get out before I call the police. He left, just walked out the door and got in his BMW and drove away. We both stood there watching through the window as his taillights disappeared down the street. Then Sarah collapsed. Not physically. She didn't fall, but something inside her just crumpled. She sank down onto the couch and put her face in her hands and sobbed. I didn't know what to do. Didn't know if I should comfort her or give her space. Didn't know if she'd let me near her after everything. But I sat down next to her. Not too close. Just close enough. I'm so sorry, I said. You were right. Her voice was muffled by her hands. You were right about him, and I didn't listen. I called you a burden, and I threw you out, and you were right the entire time. You didn't know. I should have known. She looked up at me, her face red and swollen. Mom would have seen through him in 5 seconds. But I was so stupid, so desperate to not be alone that I let him. She couldn't finish. You're not stupid. Derek's a professional. This is what he does. What do you mean? This was the moment. The moment where I had to tell her everything. Where I had to shatter what was left of her world and hope she'd survive it. Sarah, I said carefully, Derek isn't just a cheater. He's a con artist. He targets women like you. Financially stable, emotionally vulnerable. He gains their trust, convinces them to invest in fake companies, and then he disappears with their money. She stared at me. The investment. Crypto future holdings. It doesn't exist. Not really. It's just a shell company. If you transferred that money. I almost did, she whispered. I almost did it today. Amy kept telling me to wait, that she needed to verify some information, but I was going to override her. I was going to do it Monday morning. I know. How do you know? Because Amy called me. She was worried about you. Sarah let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. Everyone was worried about me except me. I wanted to tell her it was okay, that she was safe now, that the worst was over. But I couldn't, because there was still more. Sarah, there's something else. Something worse. She looked at me with eyes that had already seen too much tonight. What could possibly be worse than this? I took a breath. Derek is under FBI investigation for wire fraud. Has been for 9 months. And if you had transferred that money to him, if it had gone into his account and been moved offshore, you could have been charged as an accomplice. The color drained from her face. Again, what? The FBI would have investigated you. They would have looked at your bank records, your communications with Derek, everything. And even if they eventually determined you were a victim, the process, the investigation, the potential charges, it could have destroyed your life. I could have gone to prison, she said slowly, like she was testing the words, seeing if they felt real. Yes. She was quiet for a long moment, just sitting there, staring at nothing, processing the fact that she'd been standing on the edge of a cliff and hadn't even known it. You saved me, she finally said. I'm your father. That's what fathers do. Even after I called you a burden, even after I threw you out of my house and told you were embarrassing and that I didn't want you in my life anymore. Even then, she started crying again. But this time, she leaned into me, put her head on my shoulder like she used to when she was little and the world got too big and scary. I put my arm around her and held her while she cried. Held her while she grieved the relationship that never existed. The future that was never real. The version of herself she thought she'd been. I'm so sorry, Dad, she kept saying. I'm so sorry. I know, sweetheart. I know. We sat like that for maybe 20 minutes. Maybe longer. Time felt strange and elastic in that living room. Finally, Sarah pulled away. Wipe her eyes. What do I do now, she asked. Now? Now we call Tom, my lawyer. We report Derek to the FBI. We make sure every other woman he's targeting knows who he really is. And then we figure out the rest. Together. She nodded, took a shaky breath. Dad, yeah. Can you stay here tonight? I don't want to be alone. Of course. She stood up, started to walk toward the stairs, then stopped and turned back. That recording you played me, of Derek talking about Mom's life insurance money, about calling you deadweight. She met my eyes. You knew. That night at dinner, you already knew what he was going to say. Didn't you? Yes. Why didn't you tell me then? Because you wouldn't have believed me. You had to see it for yourself. She was quiet. Then, were you ever actually going to give up on me? I thought about the motel room, the manila folders, the flight to Las Vegas, the midnight confrontation, every desperate, terrifying moment of the past week. No, I said, never. She smiled, just barely. But it was there. Good, she said, because I don't deserve you. But I'm really glad you're my dad. She went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close, heard water running as she washed her face. I sat on that couch in the dark and finally let myself feel the weight of everything. The fear and anger and grief and relief all mixed together into something too big for words. Then I pulled out my phone and called Tom. Did you tell her? He asked. I told her everything. And she believes me. Derek's gone. She's safe. Thank God. Tom let out a breath. What about the FBI? I looked up at the stairs, at the hallway where my daughter was trying to put herself back together. We'll call them tomorrow, I said. Tonight, she just needs her father. You did good, Jack. Margaret will be proud. I smiled in the dark. Yeah, I think she would be. We hung up. I stretched out on the couch, the same couch where I'd eaten dinner a week ago, where Derek had stood smirking while Sarah called me a burden. But Derek was gone now, and I was still here, right where a father belongs. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sarah's face when she realized Derek had been lying to her. That broken, disbelieving look, like someone had reached into her chest and pulled out something vital. Around 3 a.m., I heard her door open. Footsteps in the hallway. The bathroom light clicked on, then off again a few minutes later. She didn't come downstairs, but I knew she wasn't sleeping either. At 5:30, I gave up trying. Made coffee in Sarah's kitchen. Stood at the window watching the sun come up over the neighborhood where my daughter had built a life with a man who'd never been real. Dad, I turned. Sarah was standing in the doorway, wearing sweatpants and one of her mother's old college sweatshirts. The one Margaret used to wear when she was sad, when she needed to feel wrapped in something safe. Coffee? I asked. She nodded, sat down at the kitchen table while I poured her a cup. We didn't talk, just sat there together in the early morning quiet, drinking coffee and existing in the same space. Sometimes that's all someone needs. Just presence. Just the knowledge that they're not alone. At 6:15, her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her whole body tensed. It's him, she said. Derek. She showed me. 17 missed calls. 12 text messages. All from overnight. Sarah, please. We need to talk. You're making a huge mistake. I can explain everything. Your dad is lying to you. Don't throw away what we have. I love you. The last one had come through 30 seconds ago. I'm outside. Please let me in. Sarah stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. Went to the window. Derek's BMW was parked across the street. He's been out there all night. I asked. I don't know. I had my phone on silent. As we watched, Derek got out of the car. He looked terrible. Wrinkled clothes, messy hair, dark circles under his eyes. He started walking toward the house. Don't open the door, I said. I'm not. But her hand was shaking. I just want him gone. I want him to disappear and never come back. Derek reached the front door. Started knocking. Gentle at first, then harder. Sarah, I know you're in there. Please, just give me 5 minutes. She closed her eyes. Make him leave, Dad. I walked to the front door. Opened it before Derek could knock again. He looked at me with something like hatred. Get out of the way, Jack. No, I need to talk to my girlfriend. She's not your girlfriend. She never was. You have a wife, Derek. Remember? That's complicated and you know it. You twisted everything last night, made it sound worse than it is. I showed her your wedding photos. Your son's birthday party from 3 months ago. Your house in Henderson where your wife and child live. Which part did I twist? His jaw clenched. I want to talk to Sarah, not you. She doesn't want to talk to you. Let her tell me that herself. Sarah appeared beside me in the doorway. Her voice was steady. Cold. I don't want to talk to you, Derek. I don't want to see you. I want you to leave and never contact me again. Sarah, please. You lied to me about everything. Everything. You have a family. You're not who you said you were. And according to my father, you were trying to steal my money. That's not what it was. Derek was almost shouting now. That investment was real. It still is real. Your dad just poisoned you against it because he's jealous. Because he can't stand seeing you happy and successful without him. Without him? Sarah's voice rose. Derek, you tried to make me cut my father out of my life. You called him dead weight. You told me he was holding me back. Because he is. Look at him, living in that awful apartment, working that pathetic job. Is that what you want for yourself? To end up like him? I'd rather end up like him than end up like you, Sarah said. Each word was ice. At least he's honest. At least when he says he loves me, it's real. Something shifted in Derek's face. The desperation fell away, replaced by something colder. More calculated. Fine, he said. You want me gone? I'm gone. But you're going to regret this. Sarah, that investment? That opportunity? It's going to make millions. And you just threw it away because your bitter old father filled your head with lies. Get off my property, Sarah said, or I'm calling the police. Derek's eyes narrowed. He looked at me, then back at Sarah. You know what? Keep your money. Keep your sad little life. But when you're still working at that bank in 10 years, still living in this mediocre house, still alone because you're too damaged to trust anyone, remember this moment. Remember that you chose him over me, over us, over everything we could have been. He turned and walked back to his BMW, got in, drove away. Sarah closed the door, locked it, put her back against it, and slid down to the floor. Almost gave him everything, she whispered. If you hadn't stopped me, if Amy hadn't stalled the transfer, I would have given him $50,000, and he would have disappeared, and I never would have known why. I sat down on the floor next to her. But you didn't, and now you know who he really is. Do I, though? She looked at me. Because I thought I knew. I thought I understood. But Dad, I lived with him for 8 months. He stayed here 3 nights a week. We talked about marriage, about having kids, about building a future. How could all of that be fake? It wasn't all fake, I said quietly. The feelings you had were real. The version of yourself you became when you were with him, that was real. Derek was the fake part, the actor playing a role. But he was so good at it. Her voice cracked. How do I ever trust anyone again? How do I know the next person isn't just another Derek? You don't. That's the hardest part about being hurt like this. You don't get certainty anymore. You have to learn to trust again anyway. She was quiet for a moment. Then, did Mom ever lie to you? No, never. How did you know? Because when your mother loved someone, you could see it in everything she did. It wasn't just words. It was action, consistency, showing up even when it was hard. That's how you know real love from performed love. Sarah nodded slowly. Wipe her eyes. We should call Tom, I said. Start the process of reporting Derek to the FBI. Yeah, okay. She took a shaky breath. But first, there's something I need to do. What? Derek left stuff here. Clothes. Toiletries. His work bag. I want out of my house. All of it. Right now. We spent the next hour gathering everything Derek had left behind. T-shirts and dress shirts from the closet. His electric toothbrush from the bathroom. A pair of expensive running shoes. A laptop charger. A Bluetooth speaker. And then, in the back of Sarah's closet behind her winter coats, we found it. A leather briefcase. Is this Derek's? I asked. Sarah stared at it. I've never seen it before. You sure? Positive. I would have noticed. It's right here in my closet, and I've never seen it. She reached for it. Hesitated. Should we open it? He left it in your house. Technically, it's your property now. She pulled it out. Set on the bed. The briefcase wasn't locked. Just had 2 brass latches that clicked open easily. Inside were files. Dozens of them. Manila folders stuffed with documents. Sarah pulled out the first folder. Opened it. I watched her face change as she read. Confusion. Then horror. Then something worse than horror. Something that looked like grief. Dad, she whispered. Dad, look at this. She handed me the folder. Inside were documents about a woman named Jessica Martinez. Age 31. Phoenix, Arizona. Bank statements showing a transfer of $75,000 to Crypto Future Holdings, LLC. Screenshots of text messages between her and Derek. Photos of them together, his arm around her, both smiling. And at the bottom of the folder, a handwritten note in Derek's writing. Closed 3/15. Moi, 75K. Time investment, 11 weeks. Next target, Sarah Patterson, Los Angeles. My blood went cold. Sarah pulled out another folder. Another woman. Zenifa Jaw. Seattle. $62,000. 12 weeks. Another folder. Michelle Roberts. Denver. $82,000. 14 weeks. Another. 9 folders total. 9 women Derek had done this to before Sarah. Each folder meticulously documented. Bank transfers. Text message screenshots. Even photos of them together, trophy shots of his conquests. And then, in the back of the briefcase, we found the 10th folder. It was thicker than the others. The tab read, Current Projects. Sarah opened it with shaking hands. Inside were documents about 3 different women. Different cities. Different names. Current bank balances. Personal information. Behavioral notes in Derek's handwriting. Michelle, vulnerable after divorce, needs validation. Amy, controlling mother, desperate to prove independence. Tasha, inherited money 6 months ago, no investment experience. He was running cons on 3 other women. Right now, while he'd been with Sarah. Oh my God, Sarah whispered. She was pale, shaking. There are more of them. Right now. He's doing this to other women right now. I looked at the dates on the documents. The most recent notes were from 2 days ago. We need to call Tom, I said. And then we need to call the FBI. These women, they might still be able to get their money back if we move fast enough. Sarah was crying again, but this time it was different. Not just sadness. Rage. He documented it, she said, like we were experiments. Like we were nothing but numbers in his sick little game. She looked at me. He has a note about me, Dad. About when he first saw me. About how he chose me. You don't need to read that. Yes, I do. She pulled out a sheet of paper. Read aloud, her voice shaking. Sarah Patterson, 35, Los Angeles. Mother died 3 years ago. Father still alive, but relationship is strained. Works at First National Bank, has access to loan processes and investment information. Life insurance payout, $50K. Estimated time to close, 8 to 12 weeks. Approach, vulnerability angle, promise stability, and future. She crumpled the paper in her fist. I was a target from day one. The moment he saw me, he saw $50,000. That's all I ever was to him. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that surely some part of it had been real. But I couldn't, because looking at those folders, at that clinical, cold documentation of manipulation and theft, I knew the truth. Derek had never loved Sarah, had never loved any of them. He'd just been very, very good at pretending. Sarah, I said quietly, these other women, the ones in the current projects folder, we could warn them. We could. We have to warn them. She stood up. Wipe her eyes. We have to warn them right now, before he takes their money too. The FBI should handle this. The FBI will take weeks. Maybe months. These women don't have weeks, Dad. If Derek realizes we have this briefcase, he'll disappear. He'll ghost them and move on to the next city, the next targets. We have to move now. She was right. I knew she was right. Okay, I said. Then let's start making calls. We spent the next 3 hours on the phone. First with Tom, who nearly had a heart attack when we told him about the briefcase. Then with the FBI field office in Los Angeles, who took our statement and said agents would be at Sarah's house by end of day. And then, with Tom's guidance, we started calling the other women. Michelle in Phoenix answered on the third ring. Sarah put her on speaker. Hello. Michelle. My name is Sarah Patterson. You don't know me, but I'm calling because I need to tell you something about Derek Brennan. It was a long pause. How do you know Derek? Because I was dating him. Until last night when I found out he's married and running investment scams. Sarah's voice was steady now. Strong. Michelle, whatever he's told you, whatever he's promised you, it's a lie. He's going to try to get you to invest money in a company called Crypto Future Holdings. Don't do it. It's a scam. Another pause. Then, quietly, already asked me to invest. Did you? Not yet. I was going to do it Monday. Michelle's voice cracked. Oh my God. Oh my God, I know. I almost did too. But Michelle, there's more. He's married. He has a son. And he's been investigated by the FBI for doing this to at least 9 other women. We heard crying on the other end of the line. I'm so stupid, Michelle sobbed. I should have known. I should have. You're not stupid, Sarah said firmly. You're a victim. We both are. But now we have a chance to stop him before he hurts anyone else. We called Amy next. Then Tasha. Had the same conversation 3 times. 3 women who'd been days or weeks away from losing everything to a man who'd made them feel special. Chosen. Loved. By noon, all 3 women had contacted their banks, frozen their accounts, filed police reports, and the FBI was on their way to Sarah's house. We sat in the living room, that briefcase open on the coffee table, surrounded by evidence of Derek's manipulation. Sarah was exhausted. I could see it in every line of her face. You did good today? I told her. I fell for him, Dad. I let him into my life. I was going to give him Mom's life insurance money. But you didn't. And because you didn't, because we stopped him, 3 other women get to keep their money. 3 other women don't have to go through what you went through. She nodded. Wipe her eyes. When Mom died, she said quietly, I thought the worst thing that could ever happen to me already had. I thought nothing could hurt worse than losing her. And I was wrong. She looked at the briefcase. at the folders full of Derek's victims. This hurts worse, because Mom didn't choose to leave me. But I chose Derek. I chose to believe him. I chose to push you away because of him. Sarah, and the worst part? Her voice broke. The absolute worst part is that somewhere in my head I knew something was wrong. I knew he was too perfect, too attentive, too interested in my finances. But I ignored it because I was lonely and sad, and I wanted someone to make me feel like I mattered again. I moved closer, put my arm around her. You do matter, with or without Derek, with or without anyone. You matter because you're you, not because of what you have or what someone thinks of you. She leaned into me, just like she had as a little girl when the world felt too big and scary. I'm sorry I called you a burden, she whispered. I know. I didn't mean it. I know that too. I don't deserve you. Yes, I said quietly. You do, because you're my daughter. And nothing, not Derek, not distance, not hurtful words said in manipulation, nothing will ever change that. We sat like that until the FBI arrived. And then we told them everything. The FBI agents looked exactly like you'd imagine. Dark suits, serious faces, badges clipped to their belts. Agent Morrison was tall, maybe 45, with graying hair and eyes that didn't miss anything. Agent Chun was younger, 30s, with a notepad she kept flipping through as we talked. They sat in Sarah's living room for 3 hours, photographed every document in that briefcase, recorded our statements, asked questions that made my head spin. When did you first suspect Mr. Brennan was running a fraudulent operation? How did you obtain his wife's contact information? Did you make copies of any of these documents before contacting us? Sarah answered everything. Honest. Direct. Her voice only shook once. When Agent Chin asked her to describe the moment, she'd almost transferred the $50,000. I was ready, Sarah said quietly. Monday morning, I was going to override Amy's concerns and make the transfer. If my father hadn't stopped me, if he hadn't shown me the truth about Derek, I would have lost everything my mother left me. Agent Morrison wrote something down. You're very lucky, Ms. Patterson. We've been tracking Mr. Brennan's activities for 9 months. We have evidence linking him to 14 different victims across 6 states. Combined losses total over $800,000. 800,000. The number hung in the air like smoke. The women we called today, I said, Michelle, Amy, Tasha, are they safe? Thanks to your warning, yes. They've frozen their accounts and filed reports. We'll be interviewing them this week. Agent Chin closed her notepad. Mr. Brennan made a critical mistake leaving this briefcase here. This level of documentation, it's unusual. Most con artists keep everything digital and encrypted. But Mr. Brennan seems to have enjoyed keeping physical records. Trophies, Sarah said bitterly. That's what they are. He kept us like trophies. Agent Morrison's expression softened slightly. Ms. Patterson, I know this is difficult, but your willingness to come forward to warn the other victims, you may have prevented significant financial harm. That takes courage. After they left, taking the briefcase and all its contents as evidence, Sarah and I sat in silence. What happens now? She finally asked. Now, the FBI builds their case, arrests Derek, and you start putting your life back together. Just like that. Just like that. But I was wrong. Because 40 minutes later, Sarah's phone rang. Unknown number. She looked at me, uncertain. I nodded. She answered. Put on speaker. Sarah? A woman's voice. Quiet. Scared. Yes. This is Claire, Derek's wife. Sarah's whole body tensed. How did you get this number? From Derek's phone. He left it here when he rushed out this morning. Claire took a shaky breath. I need to tell you something. Something he doesn't know I know. What? Can we meet? In person? Please. I can't do this over the phone. Sarah looked at me. I shook my head. Bad idea. Too risky. But Sarah said, where? An hour later, we were sitting in a restaurant parking lot in Pasadena. Claire had insisted on somewhere public. Somewhere safe. She pulled up in that white Range Rover at exactly 3 p.m. Got out alone. No taille. No Derek. We met her inside, a quiet booth in the back. Claire looked different than in the parking lot conversation I'd had with her in Las Vegas. Smaller somehow, like she'd been carrying something heavy and had finally set it down. "Thank you for coming," she said. Her hands were wrapped around a coffee cup she hadn't touched. "I know you have no reason to trust me, but I need you to hear this." "We're listening," I said. Claire looked around, paranoid, then leaned forward. "Derek came home this morning. He was furious, ranting about how you'd ruined everything, how your father had poisoned you against him." She looked at Sarah. "He said you destroyed his life, that you'd pay for it. Was that a threat?" Sarah asked. "I thought so. But then he left, packed a bag and left. Didn't say where he was going. Didn't say when he'd be back." Claire's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "So I went through his things, his computer, his files, and I found something." She pulled out her phone, opened a folder, showed us photos of documents, bank statements, wire transfers, offshore accounts. Derek's been moving money for years, not just from his victims, from me, from our joint accounts, from Tyler's college fund. Her voice cracked. "He's been systematically draining everything we have and moving it offshore." I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Sarah stared at the phone. "How much?" "Almost $300,000. Gone. Moved to accounts in the Cayman Islands." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "Claire, are you telling us Derek's planning to run?" She nodded, eyes filling with tears. "He's going to disappear. Leave me and Tyler with nothing." "And Sarah, there's more." "What?" Claire scrolled through more photos. Stopped on one. A document. An insurance policy. Life insurance. On Sarah. "He took this out 3 months ago," Claire whispered. "A $2 million policy on you. He's listed as the beneficiary." The restaurant went silent. Or maybe it was just the roaring in my ears drowning out everything else. "That's impossible," Sarah said. "You can't just take out a life insurance policy on someone without their knowledge." "You can if you forge their signature," Claire said. "And Derek's very good at forgery." I grabbed the phone, looked at the document. It looked legitimate. Official letterhead. Policy number. Sarah's name. Derek's signature as beneficiary. And a forged signature that was supposed to be Sarah's. "When did you say he left?" I asked Claire. "This morning. Around 10. And he was angry. Furious." "Claire." I looked at her directly. "Do you think Derek would hurt Sarah?" She didn't answer immediately. Just sat there, staring at her untouched coffee. 3 years ago, she finally said, one of Derek's victims died. Her name was Rachel Martinez. She was 42, lived in Austin. Derek had taken $80,000 from her. And when she found out, when she threatened to go to the police. "What happened?" Sarah's voice was barely audible. "She died in a car accident. Single vehicle. Lost control on a highway and crashed into a barrier." Claire looked up at us. "The police ruled it mechanical failure. Brake line failure. But Derek was a mechanic before he got into finance. He knows cars." The implication hung between us like a bomb. "You think he killed her?" I said. "I think when Derek feels cornered, when he thinks someone's going to destroy everything he's built, he becomes dangerous." Claire's hands were shaking. "And Sarah, you just destroyed everything. You exposed him. You warned his other victims. You gave the FBI evidence. You've cornered him." Sarah stood up abruptly. "I need to go. I need to." The restaurant window exploded. Glass shattered everywhere. People screamed. Something hit the wall behind our booth. A gunshot. Someone had just shot at us. And through the shattered window, speeding away in a familiar BMW, I saw Derek. He wasn't running. He was hunting. The police arrived in under 4 minutes. Sirens. Flashing lights. Officers swarming the restaurant parking lot. Sarah was on the ground, where I'd tackled her when the window exploded. Claire was pressed against the booth, hyperventilating. Nobody was hit. The bullet had lodged in the wall 6 inches above where Sarah's head had been. 6 inches. A detective named Rodriguez took our statements. Short, stocky, maybe 50. She listened to everything. Derek, the briefcase, the FBI investigation, Claire's revelation about the life insurance policy. And you're certain it was Mr. Brennan who fired the shot? Rodriguez asked. I saw his car, I said. BMW. License plate 7, Victor, Charlie, Romeo, 849. Rodriguez radioed it in. Within minutes, an APB went out. Every cop in Los Angeles County was looking for Derek Brennan. We need protection, Sarah said. Her voice was steady, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. He just tried to kill me. He's going to try again. We'll have patrol units outside your house, Rodriguez said. And I'm coordinating with the FBI. They're moving up their timeline for arrest. What if he comes back before then? Claire asked quietly. What if he? Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, went white. It's him, she whispered. Rodriguez moved fast. Don't answer. Let me. But Claire already had the phone on speaker. Derek's voice filled the parking lot. Calm. Cold. Hello, Claire. Derek, what did you do? What I had to do. What I should have done weeks ago. A pause. Is Sarah there? Put her on. Sarah looked at Rodriguez. The detective nodded. I'm here, Sarah said. You destroyed everything, Sarah. Everything I built. Everything I worked for. You couldn't just trust me. You couldn't just let it happen. You were going to steal from me. You were going to. I was going to make us rich. His voice rose. That investment was real. The cryptocurrency platform, the offshore accounts, it was all real. But you let your bitter old man poison you against it. Derek, Rodriguez interrupted. This is Detective Rodriguez, LAPD. You need to turn yourself in. Right now. Before this gets worse. Derek laughed. Sharp and ugly. Worse? It's already worse. You know what the FBI does to people like me? 20 years. Federal prison. That's what I'm looking at. Another pause. But here's the thing, Detective. If I'm going down, I'm not going down alone. Derek, don't. Claire started. Shut up, Claire. You were always weak. Always useless. I should have left you years ago. His voice turned colder. Sarah, you have 24 hours. 24 hours for what? To wire me $2 million. Offshore account. I'll send the details. If you don't, if you go to the police, if you try anything, I have friends. People who owe me favors. And they know where you live. They know where your father lives. They know everything. You're bluffing, Rodriguez said. Am I? Derek's voice was ice. Try me, Detective. 24 hours, Sarah. Or everyone you love pays the price. He hung up. The parking lot was silent, except for the sound of Sarah trying to breathe. Rodriguez was already on her radio. I need units at these addresses. Protectivo de Dial. Armed. Right now. She looked at us. Where's your father's apartment? Sarah gave her the address. My awful apartment on Maple Street that she'd once called embarrassing. And yours. Sarah rattled off her address. You're both going into protective custody. Tonight. We have a safe house. No. Sarah's voice was firm. I'm not hiding. Miss Patterson, a man just shot at you. He's threatening. I know what he's threatening. But I'm not giving him money. I'm not running. And I'm not letting him win. Rodriguez studied her. What are you suggesting? Sarah looked at me. Then at Claire. Then back at Rodriguez. I'm suggesting we set a trap. The safe house was a nondescript apartment in Burbank. 2 bedrooms. Bars on the windows. Police officers stationed outside. Sarah, Claire, and I sat around a cheap table while Rodriguez explained the plan. We'll wire the money, Rodriguez said. Or appear to. Set up the transfer for tomorrow afternoon. Meanwhile, FBI tracks the account. The moment Derek accesses it, we triangulate his location and move in. What if he doesn't access it? I asked. Then we wait. Eventually he'll need money. Eventually he'll slip up. And in the meantime, Sarah asked, we just hide here? For how long? Rodriguez didn't answer. Because we all knew the answer. Days. Maybe weeks. However long it took. There's another way, Claire said quietly. Everyone looked at her. I can find him. How? Rodriguez asked. Because I know Derek better than anyone. I know how he thinks. Where he goes when he's scared. I know, she stopped. Took a breath. I know he'll contact me again. And when he does, I can bring him to you. Absolutely not, Rodriguez said immediately. You're a civilian. We're not using you as bait. I'm already bait. I'm his wife, the mother of his child. He thinks I'm weak. He thinks I'll help him. Claire's voice hardened. Let me use that. Let me bring him in. Too dangerous. So, is sitting here waiting. Claire looked at Sarah. Your father risked everything to save you. Flew to Las Vegas, confronted me, exposed Derek. Let me do the same. Let me fix this. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Okay, she finally said. Ms. Patterson, Rodriguez started. She's right. We can't just wait. Derek's unpredictable, desperate. The longer we wait, the more dangerous he becomes. Sarah looked at Claire. But you don't do this alone. Well, why are you? Police backup. The moment Derek shows, they move in. Rodriguez was shaking her head. This is against protocol. If something goes wrong, then it goes wrong. But at least we tried. Sarah's voice was steel. I'm done being Derek's victim. I'm done hiding. I'm done letting him control my life. I've never been more proud of my daughter. 20 hours later, Claire's phone rang. We were all in the surveillance van. Sarah, me, Rodriguez, 2 FBI agents, and Claire wearing a wire so small you couldn't see it. Derek, Claire answered. Where are you? Home. With Tyler. Where are you? Doesn't matter. Did Sarah agree? She's thinking about it. She's scared, Derek. You shot at her. I missed on purpose. Warning shot. But Claire, I need you to convince her. Tell her I'm serious. Tell her if she doesn't send that money, I'll tell her. But Derek, I need something from you. Silence. What? I need to know we're going to be okay. Me and Tyler. When this is over, when you have the money and you leave, what happens to us? You'll be fine. I left you money. In the account You drained that account. I know, Derek. I checked. You took everything. More silence. Longer this time. You weren't supposed to know that. Well, I do. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to meet me. Tonight. You're going to give me enough money to take care of Tyler. And then I'll make sure Sarah transfers the rest. Claire, those are my terms. Take them or I tell Sarah not to send anything. I tell the police where you are. I burn everything down. I could hear Derek breathing through the speaker. Calculating. Weighing his options. Where? He finally said. Claire gave him an address. An abandoned warehouse in San Pedro. The FBI had already secured it. Had agents positioned on every exit. Midnight, Claire said. Come alone. You come alone too. Deal. She hung up. Looked at Rodriguez. He'll be there. Midnight in that warehouse felt like the end of the world. Concrete floors. Broken windows. Shadows everywhere. Claire stood in the center under a single light, looking small and vulnerable. But she wasn't alone. 50 feet away in the darkness, a dozen cops. FBI agents. All waiting. Sarah and I watched from the surveillance van outside. Screens showing every angle. Every entrance. At 12:07, a figure appeared in the doorway. Derek, looking rough. Unshaven. Wild eyes. He had a gun. Claire didn't move. Where's my money? She asked. Derek walked closer. Where's your promise? How do I know Sarah's going to transfer? She will. I made sure of it. Now, give me what I came for. Derek pulled out an envelope. Tossed it at Claire's feet. 50,000. That's all you get. Claire picked it up. Looked inside. This isn't 50,000. This is maybe 10. It's what you get. Derek was shouting now. You think I'm stupid? You think I don't know you're working with them? You think I don't see the cops hiding in the shadows? Claire went pale. Derek, I'm done, Claire. Done with you. Done with Sarah. Done with all of it. He raised the gun. Pointed it at his wife. You betrayed me. Just like Sarah betrayed me. Just like everyone betrays me. FBI, drop the weapon. Agents poured from the shadows. Red laser sights painted Derek's chest. He spun, gun wild, searching for a way out. There wasn't one. Drop it, Brennan. Now. For a moment, I thought he might fight. Might go out shooting. But then something in him broke. He dropped the gun, fell to his knees, put his hands behind his head. It's over, he said quietly. It's all over. They arrested him right there. Read him his rights. Let him away in handcuffs. Claire stood in that warehouse crying. Not sad crying, relief crying. And in the van, Sarah put her face in her hands and finally let herself break. "It's over, sweetheart," I said. "He can't hurt you anymore." "He already did, Dad. He already did." 3 years changes everything. Derek Brennan was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Gwaed Froth. Attempted murder. Conspiracy. The FBI found evidence linking him to Rachel Martinez's death. The brake line had been deliberately cut. He'd killed her. Another 15 years added to his sentence. He'll be 73 when he gets out. If he gets out, Claire divorced him immediately. Moved back to Nevada. Last I heard, she was working as a victim's advocate, helping women recognize financial abuse, helping them escape before it's too late. Sarah went back to work at the bank. Amy Chun was promoted to senior loan officer. They have lunch together every week now. Real friends, the kind forged in crisis. Sarah's money, all of it, is still there. She started investing it properly, working with legitimate advisors, building the future her mother wanted for her. And me? I'm still working at that hardware store, still living in that awful apartment on Maple Street. Except it's not awful anymore. Sarah helped me repaint it last summer. New furniture, plants, photos of Margaret on every wall. It's home. This morning, I was stocking shelves when my phone buzzed. "Sarah, Dad, can you come to my house tonight? 6 p.m.? I have something to tell you." I drove over after my shift, knocked on the door. Sarah answered with this look on her face, nervous, excited, scared. "Come in," she said. Inside, sitting on the couch, was a man, mid-30s, kind eyes. He stood up when I entered. "Dad, this is Marcus. He's a teacher at Tyler Elementary. We met 6 months ago when I volunteered for Career Day." Marcus extended his hand. I shook it, studied him, looking for signs, red flags, warning bells, but I didn't find any. "It's good to meet you, Mr. Patterson," Marcus said. "Sarah's told me a lot about you. Good things, I hope. The best things." We had dinner, talked. Marcus was genuine, patient. He asked about my work, my life, Margaret. He listened when I talked, really listened. And when Sarah looked at him, I saw something different than what I'd seen with Derek. I saw trust earned slowly, not performed, earned. After dinner, Sarah walked me to my car. "So," she asked nervously, "what do you think?" "I think he seems nice." "But," "No, but, he seems nice." "That's it." She smiled. "I'm being careful, Dad. Taking it slow. We've been dating 6 months, and he still hasn't asked about my finances. Hasn't pushed for anything. Just shows up. Consistently. That's how you know it's real." "Yeah." She looked back at the house where Marcus was washing dishes. "I still have nightmares sometimes. About Derek. About how close I came to losing everything." "Me too. But Marcus, he's patient with that. When I get scared, when I pull away, he gives me space. He doesn't pressure. He just waits." "Your mother would like him," I said. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "You think so?" "I know so." She hugged me, held on tight. "Thank you, Dad, for not giving up on me, for saving me when I couldn't save myself. That's what fathers do, even when their daughters call them burdens. Especially then." I drove home that night thinking about the past 3 years. About Derek in prison. About Sarah rebuilding. About Claire and Tyler starting over. About how close we'd all come to losing everything. But we didn't lose it. We survived. And sometimes, survival is the greatest victory of all. The restaurant parking lot where Derek shot at us, it's been renovated. New windows. New paint. Like nothing ever happened there. But I still can't drive past it without remembering. 6 inches. That's how close I came to losing my daughter forever. 6 inches and one father who refused to give up. Tomorrow, Sarah's coming over for dinner. She's bringing Marcus. We're going to look at old photo albums, tell stories about Margaret, build new memories on top of the old ones. And somewhere in a federal prison, Derek Brennan will sit in a cell knowing he lost. Not because we were smarter, not because we were stronger, but because we loved each other more than he loved money. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Some doors, once you close them, should never be open again, even if someone's knocking. Especially then,